finals.
Thank you.
Keith Grigg. Well, the revival of the round came down at Moorabbin, where Footscray played St Kilda, and the Saints looked to have it all wrapped up at three-quarter time when they led by 39 points. But Footscray kicked 9 goals, 1 in the last quarter to St Kilda's 1-4 and got up and won by a goal. Major goal kickers, Beasley and Gorozidis, 3 each for the winners. For the Saints, 2 each to Mace, Cross, Lockett and Meehan. Kevin Coughlin and Jeff Leake were down at Moorabbin, and what happened? Skeeter.
Well, it was an incredible game. It started out as probably the worst game of football you'd ever want to watch. And the second quarter at least gave some life and character to the game when St Kilda set a win on the board. And that's what they did. They set a win on the board, and they underlined that win in the third quarter. They got to 45 points. They had Burns winning beautifully in the centre, Mace, Sharon, Cross, Sidebottom. They had ample players to really wrap up this game. And then they seemed to stop dead. As a matter of fact, Tony Jewell apparently after the game, when they allowed Footscray to kick 9-1 in the last quarter, refused to speak to his players. This was one of the reports from a journalist who went into the rooms, and he called them a mob of lares. Now that may not be such a bad summary, because they fell back into the habits of kicking round the boundary, kicking the ball backwards, hand passing backwards, and from 45 points up almost into the time on period of the third quarter, they stopped dead as though they were shot. And in fact they allowed the time break at three-quarter time, allowed Footscray to regroup. They started to see the chinks in the armour of St Kilda, and the Bulldogs starting through Gorozidis with a couple of goals, Lunn running out of the back line, Klomp doing particularly well, forwards coming out of the game, into the game, but they hadn't been there before, Beasley, and the scores were level twice in the last quarter. And then right on the 29 minute mark, Ian Williams took a mark, half forward flank, about 45 to 50 metres on about a 45-degree angle, and he was in a position where even a point would have done. He did better than that. Incidentally, that was a very fine performance by McLean.
By Williams, 30 minutes on the clock, Jeff, but we've had 9 goals this quarter.
Now Williams will go for the goal, of course, and he's kicking over about 50 metres. It's a long kick. It won't quite make the distance. Beasley got up. It's touched by Gorozidis. Parker doesn't believe it.
The siren's gone. The siren's gone, and St Kilda have been beaten by Footscray. Trevor Barker can't believe that last decision. Footscray.
Well, what a way to win. The last kick of the day, and I put this down to the greatest steal since the Great Train Robbery. I'm still scratching my head to find reasons why Footscray got up and won this game, but Skeeter's already explained that to you. But I think Footscray can more than thank some of their smaller players for the get up and go last quarter when they did kick that 9 goals to St Kilda's 1 to take the game away, mostly to their smaller running players. Duperouzle did a great job today for them. Young Simmons booted 2 fine goals in the final quarter. McKenna was a great player all day for them, but young Royal, who I would say is their star country recruit of the year, was instrumental in really getting and clapping on the pace in that final term.
Footscray within about a kick and a half.
Here they go anyway, from train of handballs with Corley on the end of it, quickly across towards Royal. Royal can kick it from here. Let's go along with it. It's another one of the 3 or 4 they need. Yes, it's through. Great play from Footscray coming out of defence.
Well, Andrew Purser came to Footscray with a great reputation and certainly proved that was justified early in the season. But since I've seen Footscray about 4 times, and I've yet to see Purser play a very good game. Today he lined up against Alan Sidebottom, and Alan Sidebottom, another former Western Australian, proved that he was more than a match in the centre bounces and did a very good job around the ground for the Saints, and at one stage kicked an excellent goal.
A good bounce this way, that away. Has a look from 40 metres out. Cross goal towards Sidebottom. Good. Oh, nearly a good mark. I almost declared it. He still played it well. Kicks it. Oh, great stuff, Alan Sidebottom.
Well, St Kilda have only themselves to blame for it. They all sat back in the armchair in the last quarter and let Footscray race away from them. Some very disappointed players who played very well right throughout the game. Burns, their centre player, who had a great match against Hawkins, would be the most disappointed player because he had a good match.
Base. Purser should have taken that one. Oh, basketball, but it wasn't a mark. Cross gets it away quickly towards Burns. Burns has a shot up in it as he kicks the ball, and it's floating through, and that's a beaut goal, and that's really made things tick for the Saints. They've bounced.
It's pity a suspension put him out of contention for the Brownlow medal. Well, Footscray with 2 wins on the trot, and the Bulldogs now with a real chance of taking out that incentive money of something more than $20,000 that they were offered by their sponsors if they could win the last 3 matches, and good to see them coming back. And a player who has helped lift them apparently is Robert Klomp, who came from Carlton when he couldn't get a game in that Carlton defence. He spoke to Peter Booth after the match.
45 points down midway through the third term, 39 points down at three-quarter time. What did Bluey Hampshire say at the break?
Well, he was just particularly interested in us having a real go, because we hadn't got our running game going, and we really rely on that, and there had been a lot of players down on the day, and we all felt that if we'd really stuck to our task and played on every opportunity and took risks, that at least, you know, we'd have a show.
Any comparison with the clubs, Carlton and, say, a lesser-known club in Footscray?
Well, there are a lot of comparisons. I really believe that Footscray have a depth of talent. It's just that the players themselves aren't quite aware of just what they can do. And I think in the last 2 weeks, they've started to realise that with a bit of perseverance and not so much on the physical side, but more mentally, you know, right through the game, that if they stick with it and concentrate right through, that the games are there to be won.
And let's hope they can win plenty more in 1984.